Kevin is the villain. He is public enemy number one, and I need y'all to see that. Y'all have to see it. If you want to know why I'm talking about him like this, stick around, we're gonna get into it. What's good, y'all? This is Jenna from NYC, and today we're going to talk about Unpregnant, a movie straight from HBO. Basically, in this movie, we're following two girls. We're following a girl named Veronica and Bailey. So, Veronica, she's your average goody two-shoes. She's a senior in high school. She's destined to go to Brown, I think, or some Ivy League school. She has a solid group of friends, she has a loving boyfriend, and super Catholic parents. Like, they have a picture of the Pope on their wall like he is their uncle or something. On the other hand, we have Bailey. She's kind of a loner, she's wild, she's zany. She's a bit more real and down to earth. I feel like some people might feel like she's a bit more relatable, but she does have her flaws, of course. But on paper, these girls are totally opposite of each other. Like, they're nothing alike. So, Veronica becomes pregnant and she wants to have an abortion. However, she lives in Missouri, and in Missouri, you cannot have an abortion if you're under the age of 18 without parental consent. And in Veronica's situation, her mother has the Pope on the wall. Like, she doesn't play around when it comes to her Catholicism. So she's like, okay, I can't go to my mom. She has a good group of friends, but they're really judgy. So she's like, dang, I can't go to them because they're gonna play me. Her boyfriend has 6 brain cells, so he's not an option. She needs to drive to find a place to do this because when she called everybody in her state, they're like, girl, the nearest clinic that you can go to is in like New Mexico, which is not close. So she turns to Bailey because Bailey has a car and Bailey agrees. And thus our movie begins. All right, from here on out, it's straight spoilers, so take note of that. Pretty much gonna be focusing on some highlights and moments that had me confused. So number one, the simple fact that Veronica has to travel in the first place is so frustrating to me. Obviously, this is a comedy road trip type of movie. All the worst case scenarios that they encountered are hilarious, they're humorous. So fortunately, there wasn't anything really negative that happened. But in the real world, most people don't have the chance to find a way to travel for this kind of situation. And it's also not easy. Mind you, the only reason why Veronica was even able to go on this little expedition with Bailey is because she sold her engagement ring. And you're probably like, girl, engagement ring? We gonna get to that in a minute because like I say, Kevin is the villain. But yeah, without that money, there's no way she could have made it even to the state border. We're watching 2 teenagers wing it and travel hundreds of miles with no real safety net. They don't have any kind of backup plan. That alone is really, really dangerous. It doesn't matter if you're traveling to have an abortion or if you're traveling to go to Coachella. The movie is funny in more of a ridiculous way just because we're watching 2 girls go on an adventure for healthcare. Like that's kind of what we're doing. They're not doing this because, oh, I hate my parents. I hate this school. I hate it. I'm an outcast. Like that's not what we're watching. We're watching girls travel for healthcare. That's really what's going on here. People should not have to go to these measures just for healthcare. So another highlight of the movie, I would say, is the pro-life couple. If you've seen this movie, you know what I'm talking about. I actually want to watch it again because I need to see the scene where they pop up because something tells me I wasn't fully paying attention and they were like lurking in the cut because that's the only way they could have finessed what happens. Near the middle of the movie, our girls are, I want to say in Texas. I could be wrong, but let's just pretend it's Texas, right? They find themselves at this carnival / NASCAR type event. I don't really know what's going on. I'm not from down there. But it seemed cool though. Seemed cool. They need a ride for the last leg of their journey because by this point they done lost their car. They don't have it anymore. So they're just like winging it. See how dangerous this is? Okay. They end up hitching a ride with a family that's traveling with their baby. They were like, yo, we'll take you to New Mexico. We got you. Now, I know it seems nice because our girls are in need, they're in help, because at this point, Veronica's appointment is the next morning and it's like nighttime. So it's like, we need to get to this state ASAP. Now, I already told y'all before, I'm an optimistic person, but I'm a realistic person. And I'm not speaking for everybody, but when you come from New York or any city type of place, I don't care if you're in the Philippines, like any country, and you come from like a fast-paced urban environment, a city, you have to be on your toes. You have to have street smarts. You have to be mindful of certain people. You kind of have to size them up a little bit. Bailey had a gut feeling. If you watch this scene, she was looking like, I don't know about all that. But here comes Veronica. She was a bit too trusting. And before we know it, the 5 of them are on the road. They're all in the car together. I'm kind of curious as to why Veronica just thought this family was like chill. Like maybe she thought that, you know, I'm seeing a wholesome family, a mom and a dad and a baby. Like what harm could happen here? But that, it'll be people just like that who'll get you. when you least expect it. So our girls fall asleep, and when they wake up, they're left in a car in the middle of the desert outside of this huge house, and they're like, where the hell are we? They don't have their phones or anything like that. But most importantly, y'all, they are not in New Mexico. Bailey and Veronica quickly find out that this couple is staunchly pro-life. The main reason why they decided to help Veronica and Bailey is because they intended to change Veronica's plans and kind of have her keep her baby. So of course this is comedy, it's funny, ha ha ha. There was a silly car chase scene and all that, but I was on edge. I understand that people have different points of view, but the fact that this couple felt the need to insert themselves into someone's life and deceive them, because mind you, they lied and said, we're gonna take you to New Mexico, and they didn't. They stole baby girl's phone. You do all this just to get Veronica on your side? I can't rock with that. That's illegal. Like, that's a problem. Imagine if this movie were a horror or a drama or a Lifetime movie. I spent a lot of time on Lifetime channel. Can you imagine all the circumstances that led Bailey and Veronica to this couple would have been way more sinister. Now here's the big enemy. We're gonna get on Kevin, because y'all thought I forgot. I ain't forget. Let's get on Kevin real quick. I love the way they wrote Kevin's character, and let me tell you why. He doesn't seem like a bad person on the outside. He's not a jock. He's not like the most popular dude in school. He's not shoving kids into lockers, which is what we usually see. If you met him out of context and talked to him for like 15 minutes, you wouldn't even think he's a bad person. And that's how it is. I really appreciate that. Not everybody who has a trash intention presents themselves in a horrible way 24/7. A lot of the shows and movies that we've seen over the years, they write bad boyfriends and bad girlfriends, or bad partners rather, to be so outwardly manipulative. And that's not always what that looks like in reality. It's important and I don't want to sound like a school counselor, but I guess I'm going to. It's very important for everybody to be familiar with inappropriate behaviors, because it's not always going to be overt. It's not always going to be like somebody who's doing the most and it's like so clearly violent. Like, oh my God, this person's energies. Like sometimes they'll be like the most low-key person. They can be very subtle. And you're like, huh. Like you might not notice that they're being manipulative, but they are. So I really like how they wrote his character, because he seems like a nice guy, but he's not. First of all, let's talk about how Veronica got pregnant, right? So basically the condom either broke or fell off. Okay, it happens. Here's where the issue lies. Kevin knew that there was a condom situation fiasco when it happened. He did not say anything to Veronica in the hopes of trapping her. That is gross. That's just wrong. Like, as she says, which I like because it's also educational in a way, she said, if you would have told me when it happened, I could have taken the morning after pill, which some people know as Plan B. Basically, you take it within 72 hours of intercourse if you believe that you know, what happened between them, whether it was a condom fiasco or anything like that. But once you're beyond those 3 days, that pill will not work. And clearly, Veronica's past those 3 days. With him choosing to play with her future like that, it resulted in Veronica taking a more expensive route to getting what she needs, taking a more dangerous route. Also, this man really sat there and bought Shorty a ring like that was gonna keep her at bay. That means that you didn't care or know like what her ambitions were. She's a senior. She wants to go to college on the East Coast or wherever she wants to go. You think that a ring is going to keep her from being a veterinarian or whatever she wants to do? It's not. Near the end of the movie, they break up because this man managed to make it to New Mexico. He meets her like in the abortion clinic and kind of just reveals once and for all that he's a trash guy, like he's not a nice guy. He threatens to put her on blast at school, and that's not what a nice guy does. So he's out the picture, they break up, whoop-de-doo. The girls end up getting back home safely. Veronica is met by her mom when she gets home. And her mom is like, look, girl, I don't really rock with what you did because, you know, I am a Catholic and we do not do that, but I love you. And that will never change. It's realistic. It's authentic. There's no way it would have made sense for her mom to be so strictly Catholic. Your daughter would rather go to a person she hasn't spoke to in years and drive hundreds of miles with her to a state she's never been to, rather than just get your permission. Clearly she knew, she was probably scared. She knew that just wouldn't fly. So no, it doesn't make sense for her mom to turn around and be like, you know what, I don't care that you had an abortion. Like, no, it's valid. Like, she was just like, girl, that's you, but you my baby regardless. In general, even though it's just a movie, it's not real, I'm glad that Veronica was able to successfully make it there and back, get what she needed to get done. She's like a new girl. She doesn't have her friends anymore. She actually walked up to the table and her friends are still gossiping. That's all they do is gossip and make these elaborate charts and PowerPoints about the school gossip. And she walks up to the table and is like, I was pregnant. I had an abortion. Her friends are just like, girl, what? And she just walks away and then joins Bailey at the table. So now she's good money. Her boyfriend is gone because he was out his mind. She dumped everybody in her life and now she's just focused on vibing with Bailey, working on their relationship, hopefully, and going back to school. Or going to school, going to college rather. And we are here for it. There were a few parts in the movie where like Veronica tried to play Bailey and I was just not here for it. Like when Bailey was like, all right, let's go on this road trip, sis, like it's lit, whatever. Veronica's like, this is like nice, but don't think we're friends. And I'm like, girl, you have more to lose than me. Like, why are you being rude? Once they get to New Mexico, Bailey visits her estranged father, which when she said that her father lived in New Mexico, I thought she was just making that up, but clearly he does. He's horrible. He's just not a good person. He was unnecessarily mean. Like, I don't know. I think they did that just because there was like a situation where our two main characters kind of had a falling out and they had to draw them back together really quickly for the plot. So I think that's why they did that. But Shorty really drove miles and miles. Like she drove from Missouri to New Mexico. Not necessarily for you, but she did it. Like anything could have happened. You haven't seen her in mad long and all he could say is, damn, you should have called first. And he just like kind of shrugged and was like, oh well, see you later, and kept watering his plants. And I'm like, that's horrible. I would cry because I don't really know why Veronica tased Bailey's dad, but I'm here for it. I'm gonna give her a pass. The only other thing, it's not like an issue, but when I liked how they filmed the clinic scene, like what the experience would be like. It wasn't necessarily in order. I think it was supposed to be something to help educate the viewer, educated me, you know, see what the procedure is kind of like. The only thing is I kind of would have wanted to see different kinds of people in the waiting room, in the recovery room, like people of all ages, races, identities, walks of life, because there's not one kind of person that you may see in an abortion clinic, but you know, I'll take what I can get. Now, Veronica and Bailey's journey isn't really far off from what happens in real life. According to NPR, Planned Parenthood clinics in Colorado, New Mexico, and Nevada actually saw an increase in patients traveling from Texas in just a 3-week period. This is back in March. Around this time, you know, COVID-19 shutdowns were brand new and people weren't trying to travel. Like I know I didn't leave my house for like a week and a half or 2 weeks when it first hit, when we were like, everybody go home, everybody stay home from work, all that. Can you imagine when the last time we had a pandemic? You need to get a procedure done and you're in a place where there's restrictions and you have to travel over state lines. That's like extra stress and extra scary on top of what you're already dealing with. In Texas, one of the main reasons why people chose to travel out, it's because the governor suspended the majority of abortions in Texas at the height of the pandemic, so people had no choice but to travel. Even before this year, there were about 13 states that saw an increase in people traveling from out of the state to get this procedure between 2012 and 2017. So what we see in this movie is not new. So yeah, this movie is relevant and portrays exactly what we're seeing in real time. So I can't end this without giving y'all some resources, so here you go up on the screen above. You can pause, screenshot, write it down, whatever you gotta do. I'll leave it up for the rest of this video. So thank you for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. Stay safe and I'll see you soon.